Good evening all. I'm going to first recap the content that we have covered in the last class. So we are actually discussing about the mobile app development. So in the first class, the mobile app definition was discussed, and we defined uh, how mobile apps are built uh, and we discussed about the mobile uh, OS systems that are popular. So in the last class, we discussed about the mobile app definition, the history of mobile apps. We also discussed about, after discussing about the mobile apps, we discussed about the popular mobile OS systems. There are mainly two OS systems that are currently popular in the world. So Android is the most popular mobile app in the world, being the case that there are billions of people using Android devices. And there's also the Apple OS, Apple iOS, which we call as iOS, right? Apple operating system we call as iOS, and it is used by millions of people who are using Apple phones. So there are billions of people using Android phones, which makes Android devices more used in the world. And we discussed in the last class that Android source code is freely available, which means that it is open source, and any kind of developer can develop their own OS system by using this Android source code. Whereas in Apple OS, it is not that freely available. The developers are not able to, find the source code entirely and develop for their own applications. So such kind of challenges remain with the Apple OS. So when we talk about the programming languages, there are mainly two programming languages that are used for Android app development. So for Android app development, there are basically two programming languages, Java and Kotlin. In this module, we will be focusing on the Kotlin language, and we will be trying to discuss about that language in today's class. And when we talk about the Apple OS or iOS, we have basically two programming languages that we are going to, that are basically used for app development, basically Objective-C and Swift coding. So basically with regard to programming languages, those are the programming languages that are widely used in those app operating systems. In the last class, we also discussed about three types of apps, mobile apps. Basically, the native apps, web apps, and the hybrid apps. So what do we mean by native apps? what we mean by native apps are basically apps that are device specific, or else the apps that use device specific techniques. So the apps that use device specific technologies are known as native apps, device specific technologies. So native apps are used useful, or they are whatever the so web apps are what? Web apps are apps that are built using the web technologies, or web browser based technologies. So web based technologies are used for web app development. So the apps that are built on top of uh, web technologies are basically web apps. So in this case, basically they are using technologies or programming languages such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc. So the web browser is accessed through the app, and the resources are accessed using these HTML, CSS, JavaScript files. So the web browser is accessed through this app, and therein the access for resources and whatever the information that the customer needs is completed. So basically, we need internet access to use these web applications. We need the internet access to use these web applications. Whereas in native apps, we do not have to have internet access all the time. Internet access is not mandatory to use these native apps. Native apps are apps that can be used even without the internet access. So for example, native apps include applications such as complex games, like games that are available in the in the phone, right? Games, you can say, like games. Other applications such as camera, the scanning apps such as Cam Scanner. Likewise, those apps are functioning based on the device level performance. When we then talk about the hybrid apps, it is a combination of both the native and web apps. A combination of native and web apps we call as hybrid apps, and hybrid apps bring out the performance of both the native and web apps. So their hybrid apps rely on both device specific features and also web technologies. So hybrid apps rely on both device specific technologies and also web specific features. So those are the things we discussed in the last class. So in this class, we will be going further about the Android app development. So we'll be focusing on Android app development. So specifically, we will be using the Android Studio to develop the apps. The Android Studio to develop the app. So the installation procedure is given in the LMS. you can find the installation procedure in the LMS. So the link and procedure, hopefully, you can find in installation procedure, you can find in the LMS. So once you have installed the Android Studio, you are able to you are able to emulate the app using Android smartphone emulator. So what do we mean by this smartphone emulator? Right? It's an emulator or a physical or virtual software application that replicates the behavior. The software application that replicates the behavior a software application that replicates the behavior of a smartphone that replicates the behavior of a smartphone and allows the developer to test out the functions of the code. Allows the developer to test out the code and the functions of the app that is built. So the smartphone emulator is working just as a real device. The only difference is it's the software application. So it is just as similar to a physical device. Only thing is it is a software version of it. The real behavior of the mobile phone is brought out by this emulator. Not only the smartphone emulator, you can also use your own physical device to test out this app that is built. So you can use your physical device and you can pair it using Wi-Fi, to the Android Studio. The Android Studio will enable the app to be displayed in your phone. So you have to follow a certain number of steps and procedures to enable this function. So you can you need to set up you need to go to the settings of your phone and you need to set up the connection between the Android Studio by following the procedure mentioned in the Android Studio. So you have to set up the connection using QR codes and or like PIN codes, and then you will be able to after you have successfully paired your device, you will be able to visualize the app in your own phone. Right. So that would be about the physical device and how you can use your own phone to visualize your app in the in actual sense. So after doing that, you'll be able to even show it to your other people who to other people and say, okay, you have built this. So that is also one advantage of having the physical device connected to the Android Studio. So we will actually go and have a look at the Android Studio, main parts of Android Studio project, and we will see how we can build an app in the Android Studio. Right. So afterwards, we will also discuss about how we can develop our own code and our own logic in the studio and like customize the behavior of the app. Right. So basically, I was discussing about the Android app development. Right. Android app development can be done in the Android Studio, and the Android Studio installation link and its procedure is given in LMS. The Android So basically you just have to follow the steps and finish the procedure. And then after you have successfully installed it, you can test out whether you can get the smartphone emulator working. The smartphone emulator is a software application that replicates the behavior of a smartphone. The smartphone emulator is able to replicate the behavior just as a real device and test the functions of the app. So you can use the virtual device to test the functions of the app. That virtual device is known as the smartphone emulator. And then also you can pair your physical device or physical Android phone to the Android Studio. So you can do that via Wi-Fi. And the procedure is given in the Android Studio resources, and also you can find it in the YouTube. You can set up your phone. You can set the settings in your phone to pair up your phone with the Android Studio. After doing the setup, you can see that you are able to visualize your app on your Android phone itself, which makes it easy for you to develop the app and then even showcase it to others. So basically, those are the things we discussed in the last classes. And so we discussed now about the Android app and Android Studio. So we will now actually see whether we can develop a small app using Android Studio. So I will first go to like new project, and I will create a new project in the Android Studio. So once you go to Android Studio and you click on the new project, you are able to get a view like this. You first go to File and then New Project, and then you will get this interface. Then the simplest one that we can use is the empty views activity. So we will start with the simplest version of these templates. So after you go there, you can name your application in whatever the way you want, and then you can create the project. So I will say it is project 1. And then you can define the API level in here. So the minimum API level should be defined in here. What we mean by minimum API level here is that the minimum level of API that this app will work on. That means that any other device which functions above this API level can be adjusted to will be feasible with this app. So that like the devices which have an API level that is higher than 24, will be compatible with this app that you are building. So once you finish once you create this project, you will have to wait a little bit of time until this new project is built in the Android Studio. So it will take some time to show some loading on this left corner. And also you will see some process happening in this bottom corner. In this bottom corner, bottom right corner, you will see some process happening. So until it is built, you will have to wait a little bit. Apart from that, until that happens, we can see now, actually we are able to see there are mainly 3 situations or 3 components to a project. One thing we can say is the activity files, right? So activity files, which means that these files, activity files, define the overall view of the screen of the app, right? The screen of the app is defined by these activity files. This one is Kotlin file, or this is written on using Kotlin language. This is written using Kotlin language. This is written using XML language. XML language is a markup language, or we call this extensible markup language. And the XML language is used to design the styling of the screen, basically. So the styling of the screen is basically dependent on this XML file. So until it is loading, we can see that there are basically these activity files, right? Activity files, basically. Secondly, the resource files. The resource files are available in this left menu where you can find the resources under drawable layout. Likewise, there are different folders and you can find the different resources in these folders. So, right. So apart from that, there are Gradle files, which we call as the files which are used to compose the code in the app. So the composing of the code will be shown using the Gradle scripts or Gradle files. So the Gradle files are responsible for creating the dependencies between different files and libraries and making the code work or code compile. So the Gradle files are running once we run the code. So apart from that, we can view like the running devices. On this running devices, there's a tab in the right corner. You can see the running devices in here. So once we run this code, first thing we need to do when we are developing an app is that we have to first run this code and see whether it's working fine or not. We have to run the code by running this green button in here, right? So once we start our first project, we need to check whether we have first, define our smartphone emulator in here. The smartphone emulator can be set up by going to our device manager. We can set up a device through here. We can select a device of our liking. We can select, currently I have select Pixel 7 and Pixel XL. You can create your own device in here as your liking. I can select maybe Nexus, something like that. We can select different and many types of phones as much as possible. We can select Nexus 6 and then we can select the API level in here. So in here, since we have defined the minimum API level to be 24, I'm going to use the 24 API level as the compatible API level for this smartphone emulating device. So that one will download for some time, and then after this completes, the device will appear in this list of devices. So for the moment, I will just keep it aside, and then I will try to go to the other sections. So anyway, like once we have completed this installation, we will be able to see the phone in this panel. So as I said before, we have to first run the sample code in here, and we have to check the output of the sample code in the smartphone emulator, right? The smartphone emulator, we have to check after we have the sample code. So when we want to check it, we have to check it in this smartphone emulating device. So for the moment, I will cancel this, and then I can go in here, and then I can see whether my sample code is working or not. Actually, I have some previous files that are running here. I'm going to remove it. Then now I'm going to see whether my sample file is running or not. So for that, I click this run button, and then I will be able to see some kind of output of appearing in this panel. So the same error that I got earlier is coming with regard to the API level difference. So currently target API level has been set to 33. So I will set it to 34 using the Gradle file script. Gradle file script that is available in here, which is about the module app. So in this code, I can change the target API level to 34. So I can set it to 34 and I can sync it. If I'm able to complete the syncing, that I will get the build successful message. Afterwards, I will now run the code again. The sample code will be run when I run this, and then I will be able to see its progress in this terminal. There's some error coming in here, then there's some error. Otherwise, there are no errors. Then I will be able to see the code that is built in this smartphone emulator. So the the output of this code, sample code is like this. Basically, it shows that the word hello world in the middle. So, so now what we're trying to do is we are trying to build a sample app on our own. So for that, first we will start with the design. So we will delete this one first. We will put our own features in here. So there's a palette tab in here. Once you go to the palette tab, there are text views that are available. So under the common tab, you will have the text view. So the text view, I will try to get the attributes of this text view. So I will go to the attributes section and I will go and change the text of this text view. And then I will click enter, and then I will also put this ID, right? So when I'm having any kind of element in here, I need to specify a unique ID for all that element. I will put the unique ID as TV, and I will put it as title since it is a title of the app that I'm displaying here. So once I turn enter, I will be asked whether I should refactor that ID in the code, the XML code, and everywhere it is mentioned. So I will say we should refactor it. Also, I want to make it more visible. So I want to make the size larger. So I will go to the search button in here. I will search for text size. Then once I get the text size, I will choose the larger text size than current one, and then I will select OK. So I will now get a larger text size and I will paste it in anywhere I want. Apart from that, I will select the color to be a one that I want. It could be like a color like maybe green, blue, or purple, something that I prefer. And then I will just click enter, or I will just get my mouse. I will select that and I will come back to the screen. So this is how I have defined the topic one, or the topic of this interface. Apart from that, if I want another text, right, I can put those texts in here. Apart from that, I want to show you like what is the app that I'm trying to build in here. So basically, like the one that I'm trying to finally build is a one where I have two buttons, and I have like I have a text view on top of these two buttons, and this text view should change based on the button that I select. So if I select button one, the text here should change. And if I select button two, the text here should change based on that. So after some time, I also want this text to turn back to the original message. So we will do all those things in this activity. So in this text wave, so basically we have to define define the ID of that text wave. So basically it should be TV, like your text, right? Something TV and text, or some kind of custom text. So, and then I will select enter, and it will ask whether it should be refactored. And then I will say here, it should be hello there. So I will put the text as hello there. I will put the text as hello there. I hope it is visible. So since it is not that much visible, I will try to increase the text size to a high value. So it is hello there now in here. So once I have defined it like this, I can also define the color, text color. The text color I can define as one I want. I can define like maybe green or red, or some kind of a color that I prefer. I will put orange in here, and I will put the text view in the center of the page. So this text view has its own ID, and it's therefore we are able to like call this item from the code. So this item is uniquely defined by its ID. Because of that, we need to define IDs for each of the elements. Also, we can check whether it was correctly, it was correctly identified as the ID. We can also check in our XML file an XML file in the code, we can see that in the ID of the ID of the text view, the code has mentioned that the ID is TV title. So it has been updated based on the title that I have given as the ID. And the next text view is the TV custom text. Its ID has been adjusted as we have given. And then when we then we know like these IDs have been correctly identified by the code, and the code has adjusted the ID that we have given. The buttons also need to be customized, and we can define a custom ID for the buttons. So button 1, I will say TV button 1, and I will name the button 1 as the caption I will give as button 1, and then I will increase the size of the text size. Text size I will give as 20 or 30. There is 30, but maybe 20. So the button 1 will appear like this then. So I can put it in the center of the page as I feel, and then for the second one also I will do the same. This is the kind of simple layout of this app. If I want, I can put some background image to this as well, which is also not that difficult. So if I want to change the background of this image of this screen, I can go to project, and then in here I can go to resources. In this directory, I can go to resources and to drawable. So in the drawable, I can copy and paste some images that I want. So I will get an image that I want, right? So there's an image that I want to put in here. I will drag it and drop it in here. So I have this image. I want to put this in the background. So I can yes, I can put it in the background by adjusting the code. In here I can put background. So basically Android background, drawables, this